And I think we are live. Hey guys, how are you all? I hope you've been well. I want to start off with two major apologies. The first one is thank you so much for any of you who are actually here today, because in my emailing list I actually made an error. So initially this live stream was supposed to be on Friday, but I have a meeting on Friday, which means that I had to reschedule the time. So I sent out this to all my subscribers on my Lisa Study Guides mailing list, and I changed the times inside the actual email, but I accidentally left the original time of the live stream in the headline of the actual email itself. So I'm actually really surprised that a lot of you are here right now, because I was convinced that most people would probably think it'd be on Friday. So thank you so much for being here, and regardless if you weren't able to make it, but you had already sent through your questions to me, I will be answering them, so that should still help. The second apology I have to make is just the fact that I missed the live stream last month. So again, if you're on my mailing list, then you'll know that I had to cancel it last minute, and the reason for that is because I and my co-founder Josh, we have been working on a startup called Ladder Up, which you might have heard of. We've now called her Edie, the startup. You'll probably understand why once you maybe watch the other video that I'm going to recommend you to watch in just a second. But not to plug anything, but if you guys are interested in why I wasn't able to make the live stream, then I've just linked the video down below. It's just to my personal channel, so take it or leave it. I don't mind if you watch it or not. But basically we won a massive grant, and we got into this amazing program, and yeah, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. But for more details, then feel free to go ahead and have a look. Hi Angel, hi Mia, hi Jonathan, hi Mabel, hey Sai, hey Nikhil. I'm so sorry, I'm so bad with names. I need to hear what the names are, because yeah. Anyways, I'm not going to keep making excuses. So that's the first two things. Now, to move on into the live stream itself, I'm really excited to answer all your questions. I had an unbelievable amount of questions sent through to me, which I think really goes to show how much of you are, in exam period right now. I can feel the anxiety, the stress, the anticipation, and the dedication that is going into English right now, especially in the few weeks leading up to exams. And if I am not wrong, we are less than 40 days now until the VCE exam. I'm not the one counting, but one of my students has been counting, and she told me that. So yeah, I'm here to help you guys. So please ask your questions away. Now, I had so many that I'm just going to start off with some of them. I've pretty much arranged the questions according to categories so that I could answer groups of questions at one time, especially if it was pretty much the same question asked by multiple people. But of course, you guys are here for a reason. So if you have a specific question that you want answered, then please go ahead and write that down. I am here for you guys. So yeah. Hey Caitlin, hey Steph. And Pepper, yes, of course, this is going to be uploaded onto my channel. It always gets automatically uploaded after each live stream. Okay, so let's begin with the first. Oh, sorry, I wrote down a list of things that I needed to talk about. Just giving you a heads up, in case I don't answer any questions today, I will be doing a final live stream a few days before the actual exam, and I don't know specifically what day that will be. It will probably be another Tuesday night, if I'm going to be honest. But yes, that's it for you guys if you've got any exam prep, like very last minute type of questions. It's also potentially the last live stream that I'm thinking of doing. If I'm going to be completely honest with you, I really enjoy live streams and I am an extrovert, so talking to people definitely fuels my energy levels. But in terms of the live streams itself, scheduling them in sometimes is quite difficult. And I honestly don't know whether or not how helpful they are for your studies as opposed to my normal videos that I do. So I'd love your feedback if you have any thoughts, any opinions, anything that you think could help me with my decision as to whether or not I should keep going with live streams next year. Please let me know. I'd really appreciate it. And I do all of this for you guys. So you're my audience and it's up to you, like what you think is most helpful. Okay, so to start off with, I'm just going to answer 2 questions that had to do with quotes. And the reason why I'm going to answer these 2 questions first is because I'm actually going to direct you towards a video that I've already done. A lot of people sent in questions that, yes, they're related to exam prep, but they're things that I have done and covered before, so I didn't want to use this precious time of the live stream answering those questions that have already been answered. So for Maisie and for Sienna, they both asked what's the most effective way to learn quotes or to memorize quotes for the exams. So inside my description box, I've already pre-linked you to my video how to embed quotes like a boss. That video goes to show how you can incorporate quotes, but I just realized that I need to link you to another video that's about effectively learning and memorizing quotes. To cut it short, I will give you a little bit of a pointer right now. The best way to learn is to actually apply. So when we're just sitting there memorizing quotes, you're not actually going to be able to effectively memorize them unless you start incorporating them into your essays, unless you actually start applying them to situations where you would actually use them, because that's the way that the brain best makes connections. So when you've experienced something before, you know exactly how to do it again. That's just my short, less than a minute answer for you. Okay, so sorry, this question's really funny. I'm not laughing at you, I just think it's really sweet. Sandy says, unrelated to English, but are you ever going to do a makeup tutorial? Thank you so much for thinking that my makeup is good enough to do a makeup video. Look, I probably won't on this channel just because it is study-based and I want that to be the focus of the channel. But, it's something that has been mentioned before in my personal channel. And if anything, if I ever do one, it will be there. So, yeah, thanks for, thinking that this is something that you'd be wanting to learn from. I think that's pretty cool. Hi, Steph. Okay, so I'm going to keep going with my next question. Okay, so this was another category for you guys, and it's just everybody who had certain questions that I will be producing videos on in the upcoming weeks. So I'm not going to spend my time answering the questions in this live stream purely because I wouldn't do those questions justice here. It's live streaming, I'm answering a lot of questions, so I don't have as much time as I would naturally would to go in depth. So for Anna, who asked, would you be able to go through how to structure time in the exam? And for Georgia, who asked how to maximize your time, how to make the most out of the time you have. For both of you, I want you to know that next week, my video on Friday will be writing 3 essays in 3 hours. That's the focus of it. So in that video, I'm going to go through how I did it, how I managed to complete all 3 essays in the amount of time, have time to plan, have time to proofread, and I think even have time to go for a toilet break. So yeah, that is coming up next week. The week after, I go even more in detail. So I talk about how I wrote 1,000 words in an hour. So this is literally delving into the microscope of how I went through introduction, the timing I did for that, the timing I did for first body paragraph, the timing for second body paragraph, how I arranged it all so that I could guarantee that I would finish my essay within 60 minutes. In fact, I think it was something like 50 to 55 minutes so that I had time to spare to proofread my essays as well. So yes, that is going to be for the next couple of weeks. And in my final week before the exam, my video will be how many quotes should I memorize. So those are the 3 coming up, and then finally the live stream, potential final live stream ever from me, and then it's going to be your exams. Cool. So I want to delve straight into a question right now, one that's about exam prep, because I feel like I've just been redirecting you so far. So Shatunti asks, how many essays would you recommend we write before exams? So in short, there is no perfect number. You need to do what works best for you. So 1, consider where you're at in this process. And I think the way to best gauge how many essays you should do is your confidence levels. If your confidence levels is at an all-time low, you know you're going to have to do a lot of execution, a lot of practice in order to get to a level where you're feeling comfortable. If you're already feeling quite comfortable, you're happy with your writing skills, but you understand that perhaps it's more about deepening your insights into the text, well then you see that these 2 different people are at 2 very different places in English, and hence will do different things that are going to empower them for their exam. So if anything, I would just recommend that you write consistently. So what I mean by that is, as long as you're writing every day or every other day, I think you will see a massive improvement from now until your exam. So what do I mean by writing every single day or every second day? I don't mean that you need to sit down for an hour each time, or even 3 hours. Or this is not even a question, but I just want to put it out there. Please do not feel like you have to sit down and do an entire practice exam and sit for 3 hours. I personally, see, I'm cracking up just like even thinking about it, but I personally think that it's a little bit of a waste of time. Wait, no, let me rephrase. It's not a waste of time. It's a path towards burnout. I feel like writing for 3 hours straight is something that, you know, takes a lot of mental strength, a lot of mental fortitude, and I think if you've practiced it once at school, for example, then that's probably enough for you, as long as you're timing yourself for the rest of your essays. So going back to what I was saying, you don't have to sit down for an hour each day. Even if you're putting aside 10 minutes and doing an introduction, even if it's just writing a plan, even if it's just brainstorming an essay topic for 30 minutes, whatever it is, as long as you put in the energy in English and stay consistent, I guarantee you will find results and you will see that yourself improve. Okay. Susanna says, I have a trial exam next week. Good luck. I wish you all the best. Just try and do your best, you know. I think it's a great way to see where you're at. So don't stress too much. Okay, so now that that question's done, sorry, I've had a cough as of late, so that's why I'm just trying to like keep it down. One more question that Shatunti asks is, should we reread our text before exams? And my answer is of course. However, you need to do it with a purpose. So don't just reread or rewatch your text for the purpose of just doing it to feel like you're progressing towards something. You need to have a very certain goal, something that you want to achieve after having finished rereading or rewatching your text. So, for example, you could go in and say to yourself, I want to find new quotes that I haven't used before or that I don't see any study guides talking about because I want to be original. Bam, that's your goal, and that's what you're going to try and look for as you're rereading text. If your goal is, I know that the theme of prejudice is a theme that I'm really weak in, and I just need to really hone in on that idea and understand it better, done. That's your goal for that reread. You can have multiple goals for your rereading, but I would just say as long as you have a mission as to why you're rereading this text. I always say that people should, because no matter how many times you're rereading a book, you'll discover something new, you're going to learn something different, or you're going to have a new perspective on things that isn't just going to come to you during your first read. And, you know, I'm experiencing this right now. I'm actually rereading Harry Potter for the first time since, you know, I was a teenager. And to read it now, I'm seeing so many different aspects that I didn't really comprehend or that didn't really resonate with me when I was younger. So each reread brings something new. Cool. So I'm going to answer one of your questions now. Oh, there are so many of you here. Thank you so much for joining, guys. You know, this is when I know it's exam period. There are so many questions. Okay. Thank you so much, Julian. He says he appreciates my tips. You guys are so nice. Okay. Woo. Ooh. All the like, it's going so fast. I'm like struggling to keep up. So sorry about the delay. Okay. Quite a few of you are asking about which section should you, like which order should you do for your exam. Susanna has asked it. I think a few others of you have asked it. So basically, I will recommend that you do analyzing argument first. Then you can either do text response or comparing, reading comparing, and then whatever your final one is. As long as you do analyzing argument or language analysis first, the reason why I say that is because it's cold material and you kind of want to spend a lot of your time in reading time going over this. And because it's like the first time you've looked at this material, you don't want to spend your first hour writing a text response essay, for example, because by the time you go back to language analysis, it might have already slipped out of your mind. So the best time to do it is when it's all new in your head and, you know, there's less of a cost to that switching time. If you are looking at language analysis in your reading comparing and you jump straight into it, then there's a flow there, you can see. But if you say, for example, read your language analysis article and then you do text response and then you go back to it, there's this switching cost, which is basically not literally a cost, but metaphorically, like it takes time for your brain to recall the information that you've just read. Potentially worst case scenario is you need to reread it again because you've just completely forgotten it. That's my answer. Choo, I think, says, is it better to remember the quotes by big ideas or just outright remembering them? So, like I was saying before, with your quotes, do it via application, which means generally when you're writing an essay, you're usually talking about certain themes or characters which are linked to this quote. So to answer your question, it's like lumping it in with like the ideas. So if your theme is the patriarchy, then you know what kind of quotes you'd want to use for that certain theme, as opposed to just memorizing like 20 different quotes that are just all over the place. Ooh, I'm glad that I got my voice back, guys. I actually did a TED Talk on Saturday, which I really exhilarated about. And yeah, the whole process of doing a TED Talk and, the actual TED Talk itself is gonna be uploaded to my personal channel. And I think also on the TED Talk page. And they have like 13 million subscribers. So I'm really excited for my speech to come out. Look, I'm gonna link it to you guys at some point. I'm just really excited. But yes, I have my voice still, which is great. Okay, so the next question is from Mesh and Katie. You kind of asked similar questions. I'm just gonna combine them both. And they've asked, what's the most beneficial and effective type of study to do, ahead of the English exam? And so once again, I am going to go into detail this time, but I have linked a blog for you guys, which I just wrote up the other day, called How to Revise for Your VCE English Exam. And yeah, so if you forget anything that I've said right now, then you can feel free to have a read of that. But basically, I would say that there's a few different stages when it comes to your actual exam preparation. First, there's a revision stage where you're kind of just going over everything that you know, identifying your strengths and weaknesses and working upon those. So the first thing that I would always do is just grab out an A4 paper and start drawing a mind map and just write down literally everything you know about that text. Once you do that, it's quite clear to you where all the writing is. You're probably really strong with that particular theme or character, but where there's empty spaces, that's where you know you need to focus more on that area. And remember how I said you need to reread your text, but with a mission? The reason why doing a mind map pairs really well with that is because whatever weaknesses you find in your mind map, you can now apply as a mission or as a goal when you come to rereading your text. So if you don't know much about like the supernatural, then when you reread your text, Frankenstein, you need to go through and go over that into detail. So once you've done revision, which may also include making your own notes, what did I do? I wasn't much of a note taker. I'm going to be honest with you guys. That's why I always think it's best for you guys to just do what works for you. But I was never much of a summary kind of person. I was more of I'm just going to reread my text and then I'm just going to start writing. So yeah, do whatever else you think is important for you in the revision process. But once you've done that, you move on to the execution phase. So the execution phase is basically when you start applying all the knowledge that's up in here into your papers. So, of course, you can start writing essays. But don't forget, essays are not the only thing you can do. And I mentioned this in my last video that came out last week. You can do plans in as well, especially if you're feeling burnt out or if you just don't have enough time that day. Don't forget that on top of that, you can segment your essays. So rather than writing 60 minutes worth of an essay every single day, which I really do not expect you to, do 15 minutes, do 10 minutes, whatever it is, smaller chunks of work are equally as effective as a big chunk of work. In fact, I would even argue that it could be more effective, but we're not going to go into like all of that. And then the fourth thing is just make sure that you're always getting feedback. So improvements are nowhere near as powerful if we don't get feedback for our work. And that's what I've written in my blog post, and I've just repeated it word for you. So make sure you actually send your essay in to your teacher for them to mark it. If your teacher doesn't get back to you in time, ask a friend. If they can't do that, edit it yourself. And I've got another blog post, I'll link that below afterwards, and that teaches you how you can actually proofread your own work and really objectively look at your work and say, hey, this was good, hey, this was not good. If you guys are needing that extra help and you just feel like your teacher's not supporting you or they're unable to get back to you in time, because fair enough, your teachers have got a lot of work to do themselves, we've actually launched an essay marking feature on Edie. So Edie is able to now mark your essays for $30 a month, and it's unlimited essay marking. So I will link that in the description box below. Yeah, there's just links everywhere today, but you know, I just want to be able to offer you guys the resources that are gonna help assist you in your studies at the end of the day. That's a long question, long answer. Okay. Oh, thanks guys. You're all really excited about my TED Talk. I'm excited too. Thank you so much. It's so nice to see when people are just as excited as I am. Okay. Katie asked, where were you up to in revision at this stage? So approximately 35 days before. You know, I've shared this story many times, but when I was in school, I promised myself that I'd write an essay every single day. And yeah, I'm not proud to say that because I don't think it was the way that I should have done it. What I recommended you just then, I think you should do, because, you know, I've been tutoring for 10 years now and I kind of know what works. But back then I had no one to tell me, like, you know, more is not necessarily better. So I think by this stage, I think I was just doing past exams. I did one thing right, and that was just kind of like looking at lots and lots of different prompts and at least writing plans for all of them. So the more essay topics you can expose yourself to, the better chance once you get in the exam for you to be facing a prompt that doesn't surprise you or is something that you already know you're capable of doing. So once again, Lisa Study Guides has produced a whole bunch of prompts over the course of like the past couple of months. Not for all the texts, but at least for a few. So if you're interested in extra prompts, you know where to go, mates. You know where to go. Okay. I'm talking so much my jaw hurts. Okay, so hopefully I can get through all of your questions. There's just so many. I feel like I won't be able to, but if not, I will find a way. Monique asks, how do you balance English revision with other subjects? So I would just say this all really comes down to time management. I tried to strategize the best way that I could. So by the time it came to exams when I was in high school, I knew that literature and specialists were going to be in my bottom two subjects. I just knew it. Yeah. And so I knew that if they were, then I wasn't necessarily going to spend as much time on them as I was going to for my top four subjects. So what I did was I allocated more time to those subjects than I did for literature and specialists. Can't recall exactly how much, but it was probably like 80-20 or something like that. And I think that definitely paid off because, your improvements in your bottom two subjects are only going to impact your ATAR so little, should I say, actually. So that was one thing. So if you know or have an understanding of what your weaker subjects are going to be, you can kind of time manage around that. But I try to do a little bit of everything every day, I think. So I just kind of like broke it up into sections, and I targeted the top four subjects first in the day, and then I think I kind of just like fizzled out at the end of the day with like my subjects that weren't so good. Yeah. She also asked, what do you recommend doing the night before and the day of the English exam? Okay, so I'm sure you're going to be very nervous, but one thing that I would recommend is please don't write anything the day before, especially the night before. I think if you haven't prepared well enough, like it's just, that's kind of that. I feel like that last day before the exam should be really you just taking a break and just re-energizing yourself, giving you the opportunity to breathe and to take a step back before you delve into what is, your biggest exams of your high school or schooling career. So that's what I'd say. Try to do things that relax you or make you happy, whether that's spending time with friends, reading a book, watching a movie, Netflix, whatever it is, watching YouTube videos. And on the day of, just make sure you've got everything prepped the night before. So have everything ready to go, a full water bottle, tissues, like even the small things that might make that, gives you that little bit of reassurance and comfort just to know that it's there. And pens, all of that, just to make sure in that morning, like you don't need to stress about anything else, and on the day off, once you get to school, like talk to your friends, just do things that you would normally do, because I think that's kind of one of the best ways to alleviate any nervousness or stress. I remember for some reason I kind of just sat there in the corner before my English exam, and that kind of just stressed me out even more. So I have no idea why that happened, but yes, that's kind of what I would recommend. Overall summary of that answer is just don't do much at all, actually. Cool. Whew. Wow, there's so many of you watching. It's amazing. 55 people. I don't think I've had this many people watching before, guys. This is very cool. Maybe I should do more in the holidays. I don't think it's the holidays. I just think it's exam time, and you guys just want to know. You guys just want to know what to do, which is completely okay. Okay, so Mesh doesn't know which text he should do, and for text response, because he's got two options and he still hasn't decided. So if there are any of you out there who still haven't decided, I would say go with your gut instinct. And I don't know what your gut instinct is, but I know it's there. And the reason why I say this is usually your gut instinct kind of tells you which one you feel more confident in. And I think when you have more confidence in something, you're going to work at it harder. And I think it gives you that extra motivation that you wouldn't have if you went for the other text. So, yeah, I know that's a bit of a fluff answer, but if you wanted something more concrete, then the alternative is to do a mind map for both and see how much you know about each text. And whichever is the one that you feel like you know more about, perhaps that's the one that you want to go for because you're already rehearsed in it. But I can see that there might be reasons why you might go for the other one, even if it's one that you don't know as much about, but you've just got like extra work to do, right? The one thing I would say for you not to do is please don't depend on past examiners' reports for how well certain people did in certain texts, or which texts are popular. So don't go just because this just because this text is more popular, I'm not going to do it because I don't want to sink in the crowd. I don't think these are good answers or good reasons as to why you shouldn't do a certain text. You should do a text because it's a text that you feel confident in and that you know you can do well in, or as well as possible, basically. Don't compare yourself to others. If there's no point choosing a text that you're not very strong in purely because there's fewer competition, it's not really how it works. So, and I want you to enjoy English as much as possible. And if that means doing a text that you resonate with more, or you just like it more for any reason, then I would steer you towards that rather than a text that I feel like, you would do well with if you got your stuff together and, studied it in depth before your exam. So yeah. Okay. Nancy asks, what would you say is the most important thing to do prior to an English exam? Is it more crucial that I memorize quotes from a novel or practice writing essays in exam conditions? I say, why can't you do all of them? I mean, they're all important to your exam. You can't really have one without the other. You can't just have quotes and not apply them. You can't just apply or do essays without learning quotes. So, time management. Find a way to amazingly fit everything into your day if possible. There's a few people who are asking questions that are unrelated to exam prep. So just to remind you guys, I don't answer questions that aren't related to the topic purely just because I want the people who are here for, the exam prep that we're talking about to get the information that is going to help them. Okay, so I'm looking at a lot of the questions, and luckily enough, I've answered quite a few of them just by answering some of the other ones. So that's great. Okay. Okay, this is a good question. Julian says, in preparation for essay writing, do you recommend memorizing paragraphs or entire essays? Do you think it's possible to guess the essay topic? So I guess people are have different approaches. Like some people like to memorize things, others don't, and I guess both have pros and cons. And so I kind of sit in the middle. I would say please don't memorize like a full paragraph word for word, because I don't think that's going to help you answer the prompt. And that's what you need to do at the end of the day. You need to answer the prompt that's in front of you. And an examiner is going to know if you're not answering the prompt, but you've got this amazing paragraph. That's still not going to get you through. On the other hand, going into an essay completely empty-handed, I know can feel quite daunting. So potentially if you had, I would say, templates, that could be okay. So for example, if you know that the theme, what's a theme that you guys, let's just say leadership, right? In Invictus and Ransom. Leadership is a common theme that is reoccurring in a lot of essay topics. And probably each time you've talked about leadership, you've talked about it in a similar way, or you've used certain quotes or certain examples. And so if you kind of have a rough idea of what your leadership paragraph would look like, but still have the flexibility to ensure that it fits the essay topic, then that's kind of what I would feel comfortable recommending you guys. Any more than that and saying you should memorize it like word for word, go in there, just slap down what you've got in your head, I really would feel uncomfortable saying that that's a good option. But yes. Do you think it's possible to guess the essay topic? No, I do not think it is. I tried to guess my own essay topic when I was in high school, and it really backfired on me. I was lucky enough to get the study score that I did. I don't know how I got it, but I was under the assumption, and I thought I was really smart. I looked at all the previous year's exams, and I saw, they've covered this theme, they've covered this theme. They've done these characters. So I know that they're not going to do that this year. And boy, was I wrong. And each year I saw that for text response, they would always have one prompt that was based on themes. So power, surveillance, dystopia. But then you'd have a character-based prompt. So Winston, Julia, right? And I was like, this year, when I do my exam, I'm sure there's going to be both. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to focus on theme-based essays because I prefer those, and I'm not going to do any character-based essays. I get into my exam and they're both character-based essays. And it might not seem very, it might not seem like something that would throw you off, but I think the fact that I had kind of created this illusion of what I was expecting, and the fact that I didn't get that really threw me off and made me uncomfortable, and I lost my confidence for the rest of that particular hour when I was doing my text response. So no, in short, I don't think you can guess the essay topic, and I don't think you should. I think if you do try to guess it, you're only putting yourself at a disadvantage. So focus on just what you know is going to help, and that's going through as many essay topics as you can, writing plans for them, and just hoping that by the time you get into exam, you have covered absolutely everything that's possible for them to ask. How are you guys enjoying this live stream so far? I hope this has been helpful. Grace and Rihanna and Sai, thank you. I'm so glad you guys are excited for the TED Talk. So am I. I talked about the power of discontent. So for any of you who want to know about, your careers and how we always put these goals in our minds that we work towards, sometimes once we reach those goals, they're not really what we expected, and how that can make us discontent, then this is a TED Talk for you. It's very real. It's very raw and real, I'll tell you that much. And a lot of it actually revolves around Lisa's study guides and me being a pharmacist and stuff. So, yeah. That was very vague, but that's why the TED Talk's like 11 minutes. Susanna asks a great one. In a comparative or single text response, do you have to use the quote that was provided within the prompt? One quote or two quotes? Yes, my answer is absolutely. Best way to do it is incorporate the quotes into your body paragraph somewhere. Try to understand what the quote is about. So think about what themes it links to and use that as a way to connect it to a body paragraph that's exploring that certain theme. Okay? So, for example, I think there's one actually. I'm trying to think of a quote as an example, but I don't want to butcher it, so I don't think I will. But yeah, think about the themes and then link it there. I just feel like if you don't do it, then you're kind of like missing out on a lot of what the essay topic is asking you on, and that's not a good deal. Hi Nyasha, hey Deborah, hey. Okay. Hey Joey. Okay. So, look guys, some of you are asking 99.95 ATA tips or how do I get a study score above 30? It's really not about the number. Like, there is no golden rule that I'm going to give you that's magically going to make you get over 30 or make you magically get 99. It's more about what work you're going to put in and what you're taking away from this live stream, what you're learning and how you're applying that to your studies, okay? So you guys know how I feel about like numbers and that's a whole other story. Cool. Sen asks, is it okay to only compare 1 point from each text in a comparative paragraph? I think 1 point is probably too little. If we're going to make a sweeping statement, I think the best writers potentially could, if they're going to that 1 point in a lot of detail. But I generally have found with the better essays, so we're talking about essays that get A+ in the exam, they tend to do more than just 1 point. Cool. Yay! Thanks for letting me know that this is helpful. That's great. Okay. Cool. I feel like a lot of the questions I've answered, like one way or another. Another question is, will you lose marks if you don't use the quote that was included? No, you never lose marks for anything. You don't lose marks for not writing a topic sentence. You don't lose marks for not writing conclusion. The fact is you are rewarded marks. So it's more about what's there rather than what's not there. But obviously, you kind of want to make sure that what is there really shows off your skills, So that doesn't mean that you can just like forget your conclusion just because you are like, oh, Lisa said that you don't lose marks. That's not it. Like, it's about the quality of the content that you're offering your examiners and how you're delighting them with your knowledge and how you're showing them your amazing insight into your text. And I just think that if you didn't include the quote, then it's a missed opportunity. Okay. All right. So we'll do a few more questions, but then I think we might have to leave it there because I have to go and work on Edie. I have an appointment after this. 8 p.m. at night. Yep, I know. Okay, so me asks, how do you deal with character-based essays without being so confined by one character? Really good question. So remember that characters are only they're only the way we understand them through their interactions with other characters. So let's just say if you're doing Rear Window and your question is about Jeffries, who's the protagonist, you only understand so much about Jeffries because he is surrounded by an ensemble of characters who show a certain aspect about him. If it was literally just a movie only on Jeffries, imagine how little you would understand compared to the fact that there are so many other characters. So when you're talking about a certain character and a trait or an idea, connect it with minor characters or even other characters who are a part of the text. And just remember that a character often embodies a certain idea. So if we use burial rites as the next example, Agnes kind of, she embodies the ideas of like prejudice, like people treat her really, really poorly. And so you can kind of connect her to that main theme and base your paragraph around the theme rather than just Agnes herself. Another question is, when writing comparative essays, do you prefer the integrated approach or block approach? If you guys don't know what they are, I will link it. I'm always linking stuff, aren't I? So I need to write this down so I remember what I need to link. But basically, I personally prefer the integrated approach. I know it's the most challenging one, and that's why I don't recommend it to everybody, but that's the one that I feel really opens up the opportunity for you to discuss your text in a advanced way. And so despite me saying this, if you're somebody who has found integrated really difficult and challenging and you don't feel like it's for you, please don't feel like you have to do it. I think there's a certain style that suits every person, and as long as it's your best effort and you feel like it works for you, then you go, I'm not going to tell you otherwise. Ivana says, hey Lisa, I have difficulty writing concise, clear arguments because I tend to repeat myself, but at the same time, if I cut down, I won't have enough to sustain my argument. I would rather you cut down and cut the bull crap, you know what I'm saying, and have the essence of what's important there rather than forcing me to like drag on and read what I already have gathered from your writing. So that's the first thing. So, to be concise and to be clear is the utmost goal, and you're preventing yourself from doing that by just kind of like stretching it out as much as you can. So once you do that, you will then start to understand where at least you'll start to see potentially where you need to elaborate on. And that kind of is something that I think will take probably a lot of time to work on, and it's probably something that I can't answer right now in the short time that we have. But please just start doing that first, And I think at the very least, it's going to put you on the right path. Please don't be afraid of quantity. It's about quality of the work. So I would much rather see you write a paragraph that's only like 8 lines long than a paragraph that's 20 lines long but says the same thing. Okay. Kevin says, oh wait, no. Kevin says he was done with HSC. He's already done, but he's watching. Thanks, Kevin. That's awesome. Okay, cool. All right. I think that actually, I was able to get through a lot of answers. Questions. There. Oh, okay, this is a really good one. I mean, it's a good one because I just want to put it out there. Brandon asks, I'd like to ask what you consider to be the most important essay to focus on during the exam. Which one do you believe I should focus on more? Brandon, my friend, each of the essays are marked equally, which means that they're all equally important. So that's a fact because it comes down to the mathematics of it all. So I would weigh each one of them just as important as the other. So if you think you can get away, anybody out there, this is not for Brandon, but just like anyone out there, if you're thinking of focusing on one more because you feel like it's going to get you like an extra step ahead than anyone else, then I'm sorry to say that that's not really how it works. But what I would say is just focus on your weaknesses. So if you know that you've got one section that you're not strong in, please don't let that bring you down. You know, make it the one that you're gonna work on over the next few weeks so that you can push up your study score more. Don't forget, like with things we're already good at, the ceiling probably isn't that far off. But for some things that we're really poor at and we struggle with, there's a much bigger gap, a much better chance for you to improve significantly and really impact on your overall score. Okay. Okay. I think we're just looking at the final ones. I think we might actually just leave it there. Thank you so much, guys, for asking these questions. I will be back next at the end of next month, which is going to be our last live stream for all you Year 12s. So in the meantime, here are the things that I want you to know. 1, keep it up. Don't burn yourself out. You can do this. I believe in you. 2, use all the resources that you need that I have offered you in the description box below. And after this live stream, within the next 10 minutes or so, I will add all the other links I promised I would link. Number 3, please remember that at the end of the day, if you've put in your hardest work, that's all anybody could ask for. And that's something that I want you to remember for yourself when you're feeling, low or you're feeling like you're over it. It's a challenging time, but it's one that you're going to look back at and you're going to see that you really did put in that work and you put in as much effort as you possibly could and you did your best. So the only way to do that is, of course, actually doing that. So yeah, I hope that really helps. And the last thing is, and this is not to do with your exams at all, but I'm going to miss you guys when you guys finish Year 12. It's been amazing helping you and being a part of your English journey. So if you will no longer be watching this channel in the future, which I don't expect you to, because man, I'm sure VCE English will be like a nightmare to visit. Or at least just like one that a lot of people would like repressed memories for. But I've got my personal channel as well that you can follow me on and interact with me. I'd really love to hear how you guys go in the future and see where you are at. So yes, thank you so much for being here, guys. I hope you have an amazing evening. And now I have to go to my appointment. So yeah, we'll call it a night, okay? My Lisa Study Guides mailing list will keep you updated on the next live stream. But until then, I'll see you guys. Bye.